HomeWOD day number 61 going down, all right? We have two pieces going on today, kind of our standard format. First piece, metabolic conditioning, is called flatline. It's going to be a quick chipper of running, thrusters, and running. Our second piece of the day is going to be some hinged focused Olympic weightlifting work. Unlike past weeks where we've been spending a lot of time on sumo deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, just kind of deadlifts in general, today we're actually going to be spending a little bit more time biasing this, not towards hinging specifically, but towards our snatch. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. We'll talk about the Metcon first. Flatline today is going to be our most intense piece of the week. It's going to be really short. We have a 10-minute time cap. Starts off with a 400-meter run. We go right into 50 dumbbell goblet thrusters, right back into another 400-meter run, and then we're done. Okay? And our pacing on this workout, so how fast we run at the beginning, how fast we run at the end potentially, all of it is really going to hinge on those 50 goblet thrusters. And there's really a few different strategies that we can take with that movement. Number one, we're going to go unbroken. If we know that we can get to that dumbbell, and yes, it's going to be a little bit unpleasant, but I will get through all 50 thrusters, then we need to run hard, beginning and end. We need to push the pace at the beginning as hard as we can, as long as it doesn't detract from my ability to do thrusters. And then once I set that dumbbell down, I got to get back out there after that last 400. But if that's not us, if we don't think that we can do an unbroken set of 50 thrusters, then we need to pace out, in particular that first run, as much as we need to, so that I can minimize the number of sets required for those dumbbell thrusters. If I think I can do one set, I need to run to make sure that only one set happens. Because if I have to take 2 breaks instead of just 1, that's going to be an extra 10, maybe 15 seconds that I'm losing. And it would be better for me to run a little bit slower and not take that second 10 to 15 second break. It's going to be more beneficial overall. It's going to let me get to that second run a little bit faster. Okay? And this is going to hold for however many sets we think those dumbbell thrusters are going to take. We should be shooting for 3, at most 4 sets total, right? But however many it is, run that first one so that we're able to attack that first 400, so that we're able to attack the dumbbell thrusters. And then once we finish with those thrusters, we're going to go full send on that last 400. Again, 10-minute time cap, so we do have to be moving here. That's flatline, nothing too crazy to talk about with it. We're going to go hard. Now, our hinge-focused work for this week is a little bit more interesting in some respects. There's a lot more technique going on than what we've been doing a lot of our previous weeks. We're going to go every 2 minutes for 5 sets in total. We're going to do 1 pausing snatch grip deadlift, 1 tempo snatch grip deadlift, and we're going to finish with 1 snatch pull. We're going to reset and then keep going for the remaining sets. We're going to start at about 65% of our snatch max. That's going to be a moderately challenging weight here because of the time under tension from the pausing and the tempo. And then if we feel comfortable, if we want to try, we can build up a little bit more, maybe to 75 or at most 80% of our snatch max. Okay? Now, the snatch grip deadlift here, first thing I want to note is that we're not going to finish just standing tall. Okay? Instead of finishing knees and hips blocked out, we're actually going to have a slight bend in the knee and a slight hinge at the hip, so that from this position, if I had asked you to, you could go into a high hang snatch right to get underneath that bar. So this is going to be our finish position. We want to make sure that we're getting there each time. Now, the first rep, our pausing snatch grip deadlift, is going to have 2 pauses. Each one is going to be for 2 seconds. The first one is going to be just off the ground. So once I've set up, I'm going to just essentially pick that weight up as little as I can while making sure it's off the ground. I'm going to stop there for 2 seconds. My second pause is going to be just at the middle of the knee, where my hamstrings are going to be really loaded, as well as my glutes, making sure, right, that all that musculature is loaded and I'm not feeling it too much in my low back, and then we'll finish out. Our second rep, that tempo snatch grip deadlift, is going to be a 5-second count from this ground setup position all the way up to my hip. 5 seconds, that's a lot of time under tension, but we shouldn't be stopping anywhere. We should be moving consistently from ground all the way to the hip. Then our last movement, snatch pull, right? We're just going to start from the ground, and we're going to finish right in that kind of hip drive with a quick shrug at the top. Arms should stay straight today, all right? Now, the main points that I want us to be focusing on here. Number one, whenever we're doing those snatch grip deadlifts, what we want to be thinking about is hips and shoulders rising at the same rate. So once I've set up down here, I shouldn't see my butt shoot up first, right, and then my shoulders follow. But I also shouldn't see something where maybe I start leaning way far back too early, and maybe the bar has to go around my knees, right? Hips and shoulders rising at the same rate. I can be thinking about pushing into the ground with my feet to make that happen instead of pulling the weight up, if you will. And then with the snatch pull, once we've worked on those mechanics a little bit, we want to maintain them. So I would recommend during your warm-up sets and maybe during some of your working sets as well, video yourself. Kind of make a note, are my hips and shoulders rising at the same rate on those deadlifts when I'm moving really slowly? And then can I maintain that whenever I go into my snatch grip deadlift? Into my snatch pull, I'm sorry. Lots of snatch grip things going on here. Now, one other thing that I think is worth bringing out here is that it is very challenging to go from these slow and pausing movements into a fast movement. But that's part of the challenge here, is that once I'm under fatigue, I still need to be able to move fast. But that speed doesn't need to come below the knee. So I'm really struggling to get speed below the knee without maybe my butt shooting into the air first, then we're going to slow that first pull down. Once we're below the knee, all we're focusing on is that technique, and then once we get above the knee on that snatch pull, we're going to be aggressive, really drive those hips and finish with that shrug up. Okay? I hope this stuff helps you guys. Get after it today, send it on Flatline, log those results on HomeWOD, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.